it's all going to be about retention and attendance for the most part. So what I wanted to do, I just wanted to quickly start off. Right now we're looking at check-in. And we're going to talk quite a bit about check-in in just a moment. But the things I want to talk about are what happens before we get to this point, essentially. So where I'd like to go, to start would be this. I want to talk about our contacts. What we want to talk about is retention. So the one thing that we noticed at ChampionsWay is when we see schools close down, ultimately we can tell whether or not they were attending. We have business intelligence that ultimately tells us everything about the school. So the one thing we do notice is when schools close down quite often, and in fact 90% of the time, they're not taking attendance. So what we wanted to do is we developed an application called Check-In to make attendance a lot easier for the schools. Now, the things that I want to talk about first, though, are essentially the setup to make this all happen. So where we want to start right off the bat, we want to go to Settings. And we want to talk about A, B, C students. A students are typically the students who come, what we say, twice per week. B students are typically students that come about once per week. C students are typically students that come less than once per week. Those are the students who are likely to cancel the following month. So the one thing that we always stress is cancellations, they don't happen overnight. It's a process, and the process generally starts when a student stops attending. Now, to set up those ratings, we have an area under the settings area called martial arts. And we have an area here called automation. So from here you can simply select my school and you can set up your A, B, and C ratings here. So what we're saying here is under the A student, we're saying somebody that comes more than 7 times in a 30-day time period. So essentially within a month. So you're saying ultimately this person's coming more than twice per week. A B student is somebody that comes 5 times within a month. So we're saying they come in roughly around once per week. Now, C students, we generally say that if you come 3 to 4 times within a month, you're a C student. That's typically when you want to start contacting these people. When they get that C rating, find out exactly why they're not attending. So the only way that this works is if you're actually diligent about taking attendance. So that's really the key factor in this. Now, from here, if we go to our contacts area, we can actually look at these students by attendance rating. We have a view for it. When we click this view, we can see all our A-rated students, we can see our B-rated students, our C-rated students, and ultimately students who are non-active. Again, that's all taken care of in the attendance rating area under martial arts, under automations. So when you have this set up, you can essentially call these people the minute they become a C student and hopefully avoid them becoming inactive. There's also another view here called absent last 7 days. So these people have been people that have not attended to your school within the last 7 days. This is a crucial list. This is where we should make our call-outs. You can email blast these people too if you'd like, but it's always worth a phone call. Call these people, find out exactly why they're not attending class. Now, the next step is we have to have classes. So essentially what we need to do is create your classes on the calendar. When we click to the calendar here, you can create these events. And I'm sure many of you know this. This is something that I'm sure most of you probably have set up. If some of you don't have this set up, in order to make check-in effective, you do need to create your class roster here, okay? So essentially creating your classes is as simple as clicking New Event. Your calendar type, you can choose different, obviously, events. You have class, exam, special events, intros. In this case, we're just going to be talking about classes. You can give your class a subject line. So this is going to be the name of the class, typically. You can do a recurrence by simply clicking Repeat. And you could say this class is repeating weekly on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And from there, we can give a maximum capacity. Maximum capacity is more for like special events if you want to put events online and so on. Okay, you can assign the class to a specific instructor. You can choose who can see the class. From there, you can select a program or style for this specific class and give it a starting rank and an ending rank. Now, the idea behind that is for smart scanning. When you're setting up your smart scanning, essentially, if you give somebody a specific rank and you give your class a specific style with a starting rank and an ending rank, only people that meet that criteria can attend that class. That's smart scanning. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But essentially, we can create our classes, and that takes us over to check-in. So check-in is the newest attendance feature for Perfect Mind. Now, previously, a lot of you might have been using Perfect Scan. Perfect Scan, essentially what it is you could connect your scanner, and Perfect Scan would ultimately connect the scanner to Perfect Mind. You would scan in, the Perfect Scan would read it and ultimately feed the information into Perfect Mind. So the problem with Perfect Scan that we had in the past, and for a lot of you who are Mac users, Perfect Scan, you may very well know this, did not work for Macs. It was not Mac compatible. It was only compatible with PCs. Now, in this day and age, as probably the majority of us, we all have tablets now. Everybody's using tablets. A lot of you have Macs, and a lot of you still may have PCs. Well, the idea behind Check-In is it works for every platform. Okay, so it will work on your tablet. It's actually designed for a tablet. It'll still work on your PC, and it'll still work on your Mac. Now, if you were one of those people who was using smart scanning, you can actually just plug your scanner into your PC or into your Mac, and you could actually scan those same attendance cards, and it will actually work directly here. Check-In will read the barcode and attend them to the class. Now, when you get to this area here, what you see is the attendance history, okay? When you're on attendance history, you're ultimately just seeing exactly that, the attendance history, who's attended last. Now, if you want, you can use the smart scanning function. And again, if you set up your smart scanning in your date ranges, the system will read the barcodes and find the class. Now, Check-In, though, is more designed to work here, okay? It's designed to work in terms of the actual classes themselves. So if I select a specific class, we'll take Dave's course. What ends up happening is it's giving you a rating of your class, okay? It's showing you, based off of the booked attendees, the rating of your class. It's showing the people, that ultimately are ready to promote and who's ultimately not ready to promote. Now, from here, you can simply attend people to the class. So it's as easy as this. If you're on your tablet, or even if you're on, say, for instance, your PC or your Mac, you can simply go on here and attend people directly to the class. And you see how the ratings of the class instantly change. So you're essentially running down the list, and you're choosing who is in the class, and you simply attend them to the class. Now, I'm going to take it back just one step here. I want to talk about booking to the classes, okay? So we're going to step away from Check-In for a quick moment. We're just going to talk about this. How do you book for classes? Because the best way to make Check-In work for your school is to have your students booked into the specific classes they're going to attend. So just briefly, I want to show you two ways you can do this. If, say, for instance, we take one of our leads, you can sell them a membership and you can book them directly to the class. So if, say, for instance, we take Nima Jasby, you can select him, add a membership, and say, for instance, we're just going to take the ongoing membership. We'll click Buy Now. And from there, we'll choose our payment type. We'll say cash, and we would select complete. Now, after you sell the membership, you can convert the lead to an active student by simply selecting yes. And from here, you're able to book them directly for their classes. So this will show all the classes that we created in the calendar previously. So if I wanted to say book Nima to Tiny Tigers, I could simply select booked here, and I could book them to multiple classes from here. Now, the other way I could do it is I could go to the schedule on the actual contact page. So if I scroll down here, there's an area called schedule, and we can see we've already booked Nima to the Tiny Tigers. Well, I can also go here and simply select schedule, and it will take me to my class list as well. So I can book Nima for other classes like MMA classes. I can book him directly here as well. Now, this will book him to the series of classes. So we were talking about creating classes a little earlier. The series means every class, so week after week after week. So if the class is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you'll book him in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, week after week after week. He'll always be in there. So when you go to the Check-In application and you select the class, you'll always see that person in the class. So in this case, if we took, say, for instance, the kids class, Joe Dawson would be booked into this class every single week. And again, you can simply go on here and click attend. Again, the idea behind Check-In was to be tablet friendly, to make sure the button's nice and big so you can easily use this on your tablet. Okay, so we're ultimately talking about retention here. So retention begins at attendance. If we don't have the attendance, we cannot track the retention. ABC students who have not attended in the last 7 days, all of these things need to start with the Check-In application. So the real key here is to be diligent about this. Now, the reason why I say be diligent about taking attendance is because you can also do other things. You can set up, say, for instance, auto emails. And for those of you who are jumping on Mr. Marketer actually has all of this set up. So one of the things that they'll always ask is, are you going to be taking attendance? Perfect Mind can remind a student when they haven't attended. It can ultimately send out an automatic email saying, hey, just letting you know we haven't seen you in class in a little while. Is everything okay? So you can actually have the system send these out. They start with lists. So when we go here, we have lists that are already built in. You can actually create a list for this, okay? You can say, for instance, create a new list, and you can say contact, go to the field, last attended equals, and we can go over right here to this little box and say 7 days ago. From here, we can add the criteria. One other filter that I would put in here would be contact type equals active student, because obviously former students wouldn't be attending. We can add those filters. We can call this attendance email and click save. Now, from here, what we can do is we can select our attendance email, click insert, and we can actually type out the content of our email. So we could say hello, and you could actually merge in the information. We have our little merge picker here. By selecting this, we could say first name and type out the contents, like saying, hey, hello, Jim. Just letting you know we haven't seen you in class in the past little while. Is everything okay? We can also go down here and select send when criteria is met. And the only thing about these is you always want to make sure it starts in the future. So always select today. So my time, it's 11:13, so I'd probably take it down, start it at 11:30. I could then have it expire in 2015. And from there, I'd simply click send. Now, from there, the system will automatically send this email out every time a student hasn't attended for 7 days. So these are the other things that you can do. And again, you have to be diligent about attendance to make all of this work. Now, the other thing you can do with check-in, and just one of the things here, like I was saying, when you attend somebody here, there is another option here. You can attend people directly from here. You can actually sell a membership from here, too. If the person needs to buy a membership, you can actually go in here and sell them a membership. You can also see details here as well. And if you click less info, it'll shrink the details. So you do have the option to sell a student a membership right on the spot. Now, again, if a student needs a membership, you will have this option. You can simply select buy now, and it will take you directly into the point of sale so you can sell that student a membership. So I think what we're going to do, Lee, I think we'll open it up to some questions regarding check-in if anybody has them, and we'll let you go ahead from there.
Okay, here's one from Robert. Can we use Perfect Scan with the tablet now?
Well, you can't use Perfect Scan with the tablet, but you can use check-in. Now, I mean, ultimately, you want to connect the scanner. So if you're using a tablet, you can use the scanner now with a Windows tablet. So the Windows tablet will work because it has a USB port. But say, for instance, like an iPad, iPad does not have a USB. So currently, you can't do that. But if you do have a Windows tablet, you can plug the scanner directly into the tablet, and it does work.
Perfect. Here's another one from Lisa. Does the time frame for scanning need to be set up for the check-in?
For check-in, if you're going to use smart scanning. Okay, so again, we were talking about smart scanning. So if you connect your scanner to your PC or your Mac, okay, and you place the cursor here, it will use the smart scanning time ranges that you have set up currently to find the person. Okay, one note, and that's actually a good question, Lisa, that's the only way smart scanning will work. So you'll have to have your scan ranges set up. And again, this will automatically read that. Once you select the class, though, you're locked into that class. Okay, so when you click the class on the left, you are locked in specifically to that class only.
There's another great question from Jeff. Is there a way to set attendance ratings based on number of scheduled classes missed rather than number of attended? We have multiple programs, and some are only 1 day a week, and some are 3 or 4. So setting one standard for all students based on classes attended doesn't work.
Yeah, no, we've had that before. So you're saying basically if a student's enrolled in, say, for instance, one program, you want a different attendance rating than in another program. Currently, it's across the board for everybody. It's only based on the student's attendance rating just for the specific student, not based on the program. It's good feedback, and we've had it before, and it's something we have looked at. So anytime that you guys actually, and that's actually really good feedback that we like to get, you do have the area up top here where you can simply select feedback, and you can actually type in your feedback, and that actually sends an email to our product team. And that's how you see, for instance, every 2 weeks you see a new release. It's based off your feedback. So essentially we're looking at the feedback that's common, what, essentially what our clients want, and that's how we determine what our next release is going to be. So that's ultimately what I would suggest for that.
Here's another one from Michael. If your school is closed, how do you stop the "We Miss You" email?
If you have, oh, okay, good question. If you have a "We Miss You" email, when you go to your emails here, you have scheduled emails. Okay, so these are all your scheduled emails. So you can put them on hold here. Okay, so you can simply just go in here and you can actually clear them or put them on hold directly from there. So you do have that option. That's actually a really good question, especially for like the Christmas holidays where a lot of schools, are closing down for the, Christmas holidays and so on. Always remember that you have that option to stop them here.
Here's another one from Lisa. If a student is not registered for the class and they scan their card, will it register them for the class?
If a student's not booked for the class, if you're doing smart scanning, then yes, because it will find them. So if you're doing smart scanning, yes. Now here's the other thing though, like if say for instance, if I'm on here, I can still type people into the class who are not booked. I have that option. So in terms of that, I can just type the first letters of the name and I can simply select them from here and I can attend them. So I do have that option. Once I've attended them, I also have the option to promote them as well. So if they're not booked, you do have the option to type it in there. You don't have to have them booked. We recommend that you do because, the idea of this is you're attending on a tablet. So typing on a tablet and typing in somebody's name constantly, that can be a little finicky. So the idea is to have all your students booked in so it's nice and simple and you can simply attend them directly from there. But in that case, no, if you don't have them booked into the class, you can type their name in and you can attend them.
Okay, here's a question from Ronnie. I have noticed that check-in can only be used during the same day or future days. Some days I do attendance the following morning. Is this a setting or is it locked into the current day?
It's locked into the current day is the way it works. It's always the current day. I mean, the idea behind this is you're attending as they come in. Attending in the future, I haven't had that feedback. Again, you might want to submit that if you want to see in the future. We can actually look into that. But currently, yeah, it's the current day.
Here's a question from Jody. When you have a promotion and students change rank, do you then need to go into the system and rebook them into a new class and unbook them from the old one?
If say for instance they're booked into the beginners class and then they get promoted, you would have to remove them. Okay, and again that would go back to here. So after you promote somebody, let's say for instance we'll take Aaron White. If that's the case and you need to rebook them to class, I always just say go to the schedules area and you can cancel them right directly from that class, and also you could go here and you could schedule them to their new class and book them directly from here.
There's a question from Fred regarding email. How do you group the students' attendees for email?
Group the students' attendees.
Students or attendees for email.
Students or attendees for email. I'm not entirely sure what the question is. How would you group them? I mean, you can create a list. Like, I'll give you an example here. If, say, for instance, you want to send an email blast to all these people absent last 7 days, you could highlight them directly from here, and you could send them an email. So if that's maybe what the question is, I'm not entirely sure, but you can do that. You can work it directly off your views. Any view you have, you can create the email list as well. You always have that option. If you're ever wondering what that list looks like and you wanted to create it, say for instance you wanted to send these people an email blast, you can always edit this and you can actually see this. see the actual views here.
Okay, Fred, hopefully that answered your question. If not, type in the question box again, and we'll see if we can get that figured out for you. Here's a question from Willie. As far as promotion, can you stripe promoted students in the check-in section?
Yes, you can promote from Stripe or rank. You have the option to. When you click promote, it will give you the option for both. So you can promote both stripes and ranks in that area.
Here's a question from Jesse. If they're using a tablet to enter themselves when they come in, how would we prevent them from promoting themselves?
The idea is not to have a tablet out for the students. I mean, ultimately, I mean, you can't prevent them from promoting. So the idea is that the instructor, I mean, the way check-in was ultimately designed was the instructors on the floor attending people. And the other great thing about this and the feedback that we got is the instructors started to learn a lot more about their students as well. If you have the tablet out there and you have check-in open, there's no way. You couldn't stop them from promoting themselves.
Here's a question from Dwight. This is somewhat related to keys to retention. What happened to the auto task of 2, 4, 6 calls from Mass?
Oh, for Mass, what we've done in the past is we can help you with that, setting them up. The idea now is everything's automated, right? So like in terms of the check-in, typically what we teach our clients now is to have, you know, say for instance, automatic emails that go out. But you can also create views for that. So that's actually a really good question. The idea behind that is we have, in the past, I mean, we show this, creating a new view. So what you could say is contact became customer equals 2 weeks ago, and you could have a 2-week follow-up view. So that's typically how we handle it now. If you're ever interested in that kind of thing, we offer live training classes. In Pacific Standard Time, we offer these classes at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, and 2 p.m. And you can jump into those classes. If you ever need access, you can go to our website, ChampionsWay.com, scroll down to the services area, and you'll see an area called live training. And just jump into those classes, and we can show you how to do that. It's actually something we do quite often, but typically what we do is we set up views for that, and we set up automatic emails. I hope that answers your question on that, if that makes sense.
Here's one from Robert. If we have Smart Scan set up on a PC at the front desk, but I also use the iPad on the floor in case some are missing their cards, will it actively update their status on my iPad that I have on the floor?
Once you refresh, so it's like anything, right? Like if, say, for instance, they're scanning into class and you're on the floor using check-in, you'll have to refresh it. So as you're going through, I mean, if you clicked away from the class and back onto the class, you would see the changes. But you ultimately have to refresh, and you would see the active attendances.
Here's one from Leroy. Could you group attendance by age as well?
Group attendance by age. Leroy, can you be a little more specific? I think I know what you're getting at.
He's saying, so a kid and an adult want to get the email for days missed.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, so you want a different email to go out to, say, for instance, kids versus adults. Like that filter would be fairly simple. All you would do is you would add a filter. So you could say contact age is greater or equal to, say, for instance, 15. This filter here would then mean that the contact has to be 15 or older to receive this email. And likewise, if, say, for instance, you wanted a different email for somebody who was under the age of 15, you could say less than 15 and add that criteria. So what you're doing when you're setting up these filters, you're essentially filtering out the people that you don't want to receive the email. So if you wanted one automatic email to go out to somebody 15 plus, you could create it this way, and likewise, somebody under the age of 15, you could do it this way as well. Does that answer your question, Leroy?
Yeah, he's good. Can you set up a Stripe testing date for students that are ready for belt testing based on attendance?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all in your settings area. So the one thing, like if you're looking at readiness, Now, if you're testing for stripes, and if that's what I'm understanding here, if you're actually testing for stripes, you may want to look into creating your stripes as actual ranks. So say, for instance, if we took, let's take Shotokan Karate, right? When you're adding in your ranks, you're actually saying your attendances to be eligible to move to the next rank. So you set that up here. When you add your rank, you put in the name of your rank, the rank order. It'll automatically select the programming style. And from here, what you can do is you can enable stripes here, so you can see attendances per stripe and so on. But if you're actually testing for stripes, my recommendation would be to have your stripes as a rank. And then from here, you could actually set the attendances to ready and almost ready. So essentially, when somebody attends, and you said, well, they need 14 attendances at this rank, when they hit 14 attendances, they'll get the status of being ready.
Okay, there's a question from Svetlana. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. We are new and didn't use a scanner before. Do we need to book an appointment to install a scanner? Continuing on that question, is the field and check-in screen accepts barcode names as well? Am I right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. That field here definitely will accept the barcode. That's ideally what it's there for. So if you do place your cursor there, it will read the barcode. In terms of the scanner setup now, you can simply just plug the scanner into the USB, and it should read the barcode. So unless you wanted to use Perfect Scan. Now, if you wanted to use Perfect Scan, there's a lot of our clients are still using Perfect Scan, and it's a great system. In that case, what you would do is you call our customer support line, just dial extension 2, and they could set it up for you. But if you have a barcode scanner, and like I said, most barcode scanners will simply just plug them into the USB port, and it'll read the barcode directly from there.
What is ABC and non-active students criteria based on?
It's based off the settings that you give it. So if that was right in the beginning as you were talking about that, when you go to your settings area here, and if any of you have gone through the setup process, this is always something we do on the very first day. You go to settings, and under martial arts, there's an area called automation. So you select automation here, and you have an area called My School. Here's where you define the criteria of what you think is an A, B, or C student, or ultimately somebody who's non-active. Like we recognize, not all schools are the same. Some schools may require, more attendances for an A student. So you would essentially say, if whatever you want an A student to be. Now, this is based off the last 30 days. So within a 30-day time frame, a student has to attend 7 times in order to be able to be considered an A student. 7 times or more. Now, for a B student, it would be a minimum of 5 times and up to 6 times to be a B student. And ultimately, again, if they can attend 7 times, they'll be an A student. And between 3 to 5, so 3 or 4 attendances would be a C student. Now, you can define these to whatever you want. Whatever you want to consider an A, B, or C student. This is just what we feel. We feel an A student is somebody who comes twice per week. We feel a B student is somebody who comes once per week. And we feel a C student is somebody who comes less than once per week. It's the idea behind it.
Okay, here's a question from Jesse. Can we use auto-generated key tags and link them to current students?
Yes. The only thing you need, Jesse, is you need what's called the custom ID field, which is simple. We can add it in 2 seconds. What it is all we'll do is we'll actually add something on, say, for instance, the page layout here. And we'll put an area called custom ID. And then all you have to do is just key in the ID tag. Like on the barcode, on top of the barcode, there's a number there. You just key in that number, and we'll install the field for you. You just have to call customer support. Actually, just tell them, I have custom barcodes, custom ID cards. I just need the custom ID field added to my page layout, and they'll add it for you. And then you can simply just type in the barcode number, click save, and then instantly the system will read that barcode and connect it to that student.
Here's a question from Leroy. How can you set up a learning center for students out of town or for additional training?
For additional training, kind of like a little library for the student. You can set that up, and we've done that before in terms of our website. We do offer that. So we do offer a learning center that you can set up, and you essentially pick and choose what you want. My advice would be to go to our live training classes. We can show you how to do that. But yeah, you can definitely set that up. Or you can talk to our web team. If you have a website with us, talk to our web team about setting that up. But absolutely, we can show you that in live training.
There's a question from Robert. So can we use check-in in place of perfect scan now?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, here's a big question from Debbie. We have 2 start classes when within 5 minutes of each other. I have students assigning to sparring and students assigned to kickboxing starting 5 minutes later. Both groups are coming in and scanning at the same time, but perfect scan still puts the students into the wrong class. If students want to scan in before class starts, how can I fix this problem since PM has errors even though students are assigned into the correct class?
Well, it's probably related to the scan ranges. Like if, say, for instance, it's 2 things. Are they booked in for the class? What are your scan ranges is the other thing. Now, in this case, are we using perfect scan or are we using check-in? That would be my question. But if anybody's attending to the wrong class, it's always based on something with the class or it's based on your scan ranges. Now, my advice in these cases is to call customer support. Give us an example of a student who attended to the wrong class, and we can troubleshoot it from there. But I'd say likely it's got something to do with the scan ranges. Now, in the event a student qualifies for 2 classes, you would get a pop-up as to which class they're going to attend. So it could be an issue with the class, whether or not you have the correct program or style associated with the class. And again, it could be an issue of having the correct starting rank or ending rank. It could be an issue of scan ranges. Customer support can always troubleshoot those kind of things, though. So we can investigate. If you give us an example of the student, it's always the best thing, and then we can investigate it from there.
Here's a question from Anthony. I'm using time and attendance for testing. Which, in your opinion, is the easiest way? We test every 3 months, 2 times a week.
But my advice, personally, I would say by attendance. I mean, you can do by time and attendance, which is fine. But my whole thing about setting up the criteria to be eligible to promote is if I say, for instance, you have to be a student for 90 days to be considered ready to promote. Well, that means I can be a student for 90 days and not have attended once, but I'm still eligible to promote. So my feeling is that it should always be based off attendance. No matter how often you're testing, say I test every 3 months, well, I still need X amount of attendances to be eligible. So my personal opinion, that's my personal opinion, is to always set up the criteria by attendance.
Okay, there's a question from Diane. How do we stop emails for students on vacation? And we have a few students that are 2 weeks in town and 2 weeks out consistently.
Oh, for a specific student? Like if a specific student left, you would have to remove them from the actual automated email itself. So in that case, if say, for instance, I have a scheduled email, and we're talking a specific student, because we know we can put them on hold here, right? But if, say, for instance, I had a scheduled email here, I could go into it, and I could actually go to the filter itself. Actually, let's take this directly from here. Anytime, these are your lists that are set up. So say, for instance, on an automated email, like we had our attendance email, okay? I can edit this filter, and I could actually say contact full name not equal to, and I could say if it was myself, Keith McGregor. And what I could do there is I could add that criteria and I could put him off so that it wouldn't actually email him. That would be the only way to remove one student from the automated email. Now, obviously, like I said, during like Christmas holidays, you can put the scheduled email on hold. But right now, currently, to remove one student, that would be the only way you could do it.
Here's a question from Julie. When we scan in the check-in feature, will the system allow a student without a current membership to be attended?
You could attend them without a current membership. You will have the option to sell them a membership, though, as well. So the idea is like I said, when you scan them in, if I'm, say for instance, scanning in, we'll take anybody. We take Charles Barkley. and you scan them in, you always have the option, like here you'll see if they have a membership. If they don't, you have the option to sell them a membership though still, directly from here.
Okay, here's a question from Michael. Which is better to use, Perfect Scan or check-in? What is the general difference and which is quicker?
Check-in. I'd say for both. Check-in is going to be quicker. Check-in would be more effective. Perfect Scan is one of those things, though. I mean, like the idea behind this is you can have check-in set up and you can have your scanner connected to it and you have your students attending class. So you can use it the same way Perfect Scan works. The idea behind Perfect Scan is to connect the scanner to the computer. Okay, so, and it was only PC compatible. The idea behind check-in is that it eliminates the need for Perfect Scan. Now, there are still schools that I work with that I know they prefer Perfect Scan for the way it's set up because they do a lot of smart scanning and so on. But the idea, my personal opinion, and the way that I train schools these days is to use a tablet, to walk on the floor, have check-in open, and just attend your students right on the mat. This way, I mean, the one thing about this is the schools that I've taught, the schools that do this, they're very diligent about attendance. When I check in with these schools, I can always see that these are the ones that are always being diligent about taking attendance because they never miss it. It's just a force of habit for the instructor to walk out onto the mat and have the tablet and automatically attend people directly there. So my personal opinion, I think I would say check-in.
There's a question from Jody. If I have a student who has a special schedule that is a mix of 2-day-a-week book classes, should I book them for both class sets, even though they'll only be coming to one of each?
Absolutely, book them to both class sets. The idea there is it doesn't matter if they're booked and they don't attend, right? They can sit there. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's not an issue of them being booked to the class, but you want them there in case they do come to the class. So I always have people say the class is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This student only comes to the class on Wednesday. What should I do? Well, you still book them into the series, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you just attend them on Wednesdays. So absolutely, you'd still book them into the whole set, both sets.
There's another question from Debbie. Can you put a lead into a class for attendance purposes? Let's say they are doing a 4 or 6 week trial program.
Yeah, absolutely. You can book a lead into the class. You can actually enter a lead in directly from here. If you actually have somebody come in, let's say, for instance, you can type in their actual name. We'll say Simpson. I think we've got too many people in here. You can type people in directly from here and add them as lead. You just have to type in their name. This is actually something that was a new feature. Forgive me. I'll have to double check that. You can actually enter leads directly from there. But yeah, you can actually book leads in as well. There's no problem with that. It's the same idea. Like when you have a lead here, you can go to your leads. You can select their name. You still have a schedule option down here. So you can absolutely book them for class. So all of that option is there for you, so you can book leads in there.
Here's a question from Daniel. Shopping for a tablet, is there any tablets that are not compatible for attendance use?
If you want to use a scanner, the only tablet that will be compatible with the scanner is a Windows tablet. Now, if you want to use check-in and you don't care about the scanner and you want to just use the tablet, and like I said, just going on here to the class and just simply selecting attend, any tablet will work. iPad, whatever tablet it is, Samsung Galaxy, doesn't matter, any tablet. But again, if you want to use a scanner with check-in, the only tablet that is compatible is the Windows tablet.
Okay, and there's a kind of a follow-up question to that from Michael. Do I still have to use a particular scanner?
If you're talking with check-in, it depends. I mean, we always say, MetroLogic scanners. So, I mean, we couldn't tell you that it's compatible with every single scanner. Like we actually supply the scanners. I could not say for sure. I'd say on the whole, most scanners are compatible. But I could not say that every single scanner out there is.
And that goes for both tablet and PC?
That would go for, both tablet and PC.
We have Cheryl punch cards. Can we sell a punch card to a family and check in a family for a class and count down classes, 1, 2, 3 classes at once? I mean, if family members want to attend class together.
No, you couldn't. Attendance is per student, not per family. So I mean, if you, I know where you're coming from with it, but the idea being is, if you had a card set up for the family, and say, for instance, dad showed up by himself, and it's knocking off attendances for mom and his kid, well, it's just not logical, right? So the idea is attendance is per student, always.
Here's a question from Anthony. Is attendance rating calculated weekly or monthly?
It's calculated by the last 30 days. So it's always looking at the last 30 days. So every day it recalculates. Every day it's looking at the last 30 days. So every day it recalculates the attendance rating based off the last 30 days.
There's a question from Mark. We have a lot of guys that do makeup classes. When they attend in, it lets us know that they are makeup students or on the class report. However, when we go to their contact page and look at their attendance, these classes show up with blank value rather than the name of the class or time or date. Is there a solution for that?
I'd have to look at that. I mean, if we're talking about, like, say, for instance, the class report, and you're talking about, okay, I'm assuming you're going to the contact page, and you're looking at, say, for instance, somebody's attendances. We'll take this person here. When you're looking at their attendances below, I'm assuming this is what we're talking about. It's coming up with no class. So the actual event itself, like if you're actually attending them to a specific class, the event name should be there. But the idea of a makeup class is that it's just logging in attendance. So there is no class, right? If that's what we're talking about, I'm assuming that's what you mean. The idea of a makeup class is that it's just logging an attendance. It's not actually putting them into a class. So that's why you don't see an event there. The name of the event is the class that the student actually attended. A makeup class is like just allowing them to attend. It's just giving them an attendance.
Okay, there's a question from Julie. Is there a way to utilize the camera on the iPad to scan attendance, similar to a QR code?
I don't think so. I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming like you're trying to read a barcode, like you want to actually scan the barcode off of the iPad camera. I couldn't say for sure.
Yes, that's what she's asking.
Is that what she's asking? You have to test it. I mean, that's the only thing I could say. I don't know for sure. I've never personally done it. But, I mean, you could definitely give it a try.
Okay, there's another question from Michael. Can you set a filter for C-grade students for the email list, trying to catch them before they become non-active?
Yeah, absolutely. You could say students' attendance rating, equals C rating, and send an email blast out to them. I mean, in terms of like automatic emails, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can't do. Like if, say, for instance, you want to catch them as soon as they become C students, you can definitely set up those filters. There's no question about that. You can get very specific with filters. Like I was saying, you can filter out somebody by their age and their, when they've last attended. All of those things, you're just adding more filters to it. So like what I suggest is, and I'll tell you, I teach a lot of those live training classes that I talk about. And I've always told people that the number one thing we do in live training is we set up these automatic emails for people. We ask them, what email do you want, and we can set it up. I'm not sure, like, if you mean, like, say, for instance, you want to set up an automatic email for C-rating students, yes, you can absolutely do that. That's not a problem. But if you want to catch them before, like at a B rating, or if you want to do it by the number of attendances, you'd have to be specific about it, but I could definitely set up pretty much anything you want. I would go into live training, and then that way what you do is just simply chat in the box, let us know what you're looking for, and we can set it up.
Here's another question from Freddie. I give away a free shirt to members who have reached a certain number of attendant days. Can I use check-in to keep track of each class attendance, but also keep track of total days in general as well? I could not do this with Perfect Scan or with the reports. At least that is what I was told so. I had to just choose to take attendance for the day and not for each class.
I'm not entirely sure the question. Like if you've had X amount of attendances and it's been X amount of time, you get a T-shirt. So you want to be able to track from check-in how long they've been there as well and how many attendances. I mean, you could, definitely do that, I think, based off of a view more than likely. Would be
yes, he wants to know how many days total like, can he use check-in to keep track of each class attendance, but also keep track of total days in general?
No, because check-in, I mean, we're talking about attendance. So check-in is looking at attendance, not how many days the person's been there. Now, I mean, like, to take it to, you know, if, say, for instance, we took somebody in there, you can get the details from the page, but, I mean, ultimately, check-in is an application that's designed for taking attendance. Now, you could set up a view, and I'm sure you could get that information. It'd be very easy to get, you know, off of a view. You could see people with X amount of attendances that have been there for X amount of days. You could probably create a view for that. Would be the better way. But, you know, check-in, there's going to be a lot of features that are coming to check-in. Like this is actually what we've called, you see check-in, you see beta in the top right corner there of check-in. This is phase 1 of check-in. So phase 2 is actually coming. So there's a lot more coming in terms of check-in, what you're going to be able to do there. The idea is we want you to be able to handle more of your day-to-day operations within the check-in app. But something like that, I would suggest a view would be the better way to go.
Okay, here's a question from Nate. When creating the automatic email for students absent 7 days or more, when I create the fields contact last attended equals, I don't have the option of choosing 7 days ago.
Okay, the one thing you have to do is when you're here, you click the plus sign, you're creating your list. If you say contact last attended equals, you have to click that little box there. That box will give you the criteria list. And then you can go down to the bottom and select N days ago and then just key in 7. I mean, you may want to, you know, say 5 days. You can key in whatever amount you want. But you just have to click that little box and it'll give you the criteria list.
You just said, light bulb just went on. Anthony has a question for more help. I usually click on help for reference. Where else can I go for more training?
Live training. If anybody wants to know how to get into live training, and like I said, these classes are great.